delighted to make welcome Mr. Marc Ratcliffe from MRWED Training and Assessment. Marc, show us your wares.
Okay, folks. Wow, what an attractive group. Do it like a clip art. One of those things. My presentation today is all about engagement. And I guess what I'm trying to do today is with this shirt is trying to engage you. It's bright, isn't it? It's bright. It's a gift from my wife. And my wife and kids are down here this week because I'm trying to help and stimulate the Tasmanian economy. So I had to wear it this morning because, of course, as I said, it was a gift. So I like the shirt, and it blends in quite nicely with the decor around here too, with the purple dots and so forth on the floor. And I guess a really quick story for you. We came here on the Sunday, and again, I said I'm stimulating the Tasmanian economy because we went out, two kids, my wife and myself, to watch the movies on Sunday. $115 for movie popcorn and drinks. So you're welcome. You're welcome. So before we get started, folks, I do need a volunteer to help me out with a very important job. Volunteers are always rewarded. Let's remember that in this session today. So if you'd like to help me out, someone in the front areas here. I like it. Everybody else but me, you know. So I think you just, yeah, okay, fantastic. Now your reward, you don't even know what it is, but I'm going to give you a reward straight away. It's a copy of my new book, the Trainer's Cookbook. So congratulations. What's your name? Chris. Give it up for Chris. You're going to watch Chris. You're my timekeeper. I've got 25 minutes, or about 23 and a half now. So at about 10 past, I need you to give me this warning. Let me know that, Mark, this is not you trying to give me a high five from a distance. This is you telling me I've got about 5 minutes to go. That'll help me to continue on, because I don't wear a watch anymore. It's one of the most liberating things that I did. I do have a pedometer, which I was given as a Valentine's gift. So now you're getting some interplay with my relationship with my wife. She's definitely telling me something. So for those of you that have satchels, you'll find in your satchels there is a handout to go along with this presentation. If you don't have a satchel, it's pretty basic stuff. You can write it down. But if you do have one, it looks like this. It's got like a Sudoku thing on the front cover. It's 2 pages. It'll be somewhere deep in your satchel. And as you're looking at that, or looking to find, I'm going to give you 4 promises for this presentation today. The first one is that every single person in this room will walk away with a gift from me, or at least a virtual gift. But you have to hang around till the very end to find out exactly what it is. There is a gift for everyone that's here. That's one of 4 promises that I'll make. The other 3 promises relate specifically to what I'm covering today. So I promise over the next 22 minutes, Chris, the next 22 minutes, is that I'm going to be giving you 5 models for learning engagement, 6 tips for learning engagement, and only 7 slides after this one. So it's not going to be a situation where, move back here for a sec, a situation where it's death by PowerPoint. I need someone well versed in the art of torture. Does anyone know PowerPoint? It's not going to be like that. So 7 slides only in this presentation after that particular one. Now, one of the key things about engagement for me, folks, is that you need to have involvement and interaction. We've certainly had some of our presenters today model that, and I'm going to do the same thing right away. So for those of you that want a little bit of a takeaway, feel free to do the Sudoku after this session, okay? It's just another way, I guess, of getting people involved as a soft opening to the content, and the 5 models that I'm sharing with you are actually part of that Sudoku, so feel free to use that as a takeaway. I'll talk to you a little bit about that at the very, very end. Underneath that, though, you've got a bit of a tent at the bottom, and there are some things about yourself that I'd like you to share with the people around you. Things like where you're from. Some of you have already worked this out. A lot of us are from Tasmania. We've got some Queenslanders in the room, New South Wales, and so forth. Find out the people around you, where they're from. A fun fact maybe about yourself or the job that you do. The years of experience that you've been involved with training and assessment. And if you've got a little bit of time, let's think about what engagement means for you. When you say the word engagement, what does it mean? I'm going to give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And you'll hear some chimes at the end. Once you hear the chimes, I'll bring it back together and we can kickstart on our 5, 6, 7 rule for our presentation today. So make it happen, team. Talk to someone around you, or the people around you, about those 4 key facts. If anybody hasn't got one of those handouts, we've got some spare handouts here. So Tony's going to be our handout guy. folks, I'll hold you there. So, those of you that finally got the handouts, we'll talk about this idea of there being a participant-centred approach. And for me, it's all about getting the participants involved in the learning. And we'll talk about those models in the next 15 minutes or so. So moving past the death by PowerPoint, folks, I wanted to, I guess, explain why I think this involvement is such a critical thing. Because we're competing so much for attention. If you have a look at this statistic, you'll see here that around 90% of all interactions with media are screen-based. There's this whole idea, for the parents in the room, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, this idea of screen time. There's so much screen time that's there. The damning statistic for me, however, is this one. So on average, we spend about 4.4 hours of our leisure time each and every day. That's our leisure time, not our work time, leisure time in front of screens. If you do the quick math on this, you realise, when you carry the one, it's about 1,600 hours a year. Now, for those of you that are good at math, and you think about, let's think about our students now. Let's think about even our high school students that might be 40 weeks in the classroom, that might be 5 days a week for 6 hours a day. That's about 1,200 hours. So there's 1,200 hours of time in a school, 1,600 hours in front of a screen, in addition to the screen time in the school. And these are the graduates we inherit. So if we're not engaging, if we're not involving them, then we're going to have a problem. And you have things like this. Who's a Candy Crush addict out here? Let me say today, folks, that my name is Mark and I am indeed a Candy Crush addict. It's the very first time that I've spent real money to buy fake money just to beat a level. And there's something really interesting about the psychology of these games. They work like the poker machines that are here at the casino. They work with the pleasure centres in the brain. They work with the risk and reward. I'm not necessarily saying we should install poker machines and have these sort of gamification in our learning. What I'm saying is we're competing with this. We need to add that risk and reward so that we can continue to engage our learners. And the first model that I'll share with you is one that's not necessarily new, but I'm trying to bring it back as a present of mind. And this is 90-28 rule. So those of you who are familiar with the work of Buzan, Tony Buzan, the mind mapping guy, might be familiar with his theory about for every 90 minutes, and this is like in a classroom situation, for every 90 minutes of instruction we need to take a physical break. For every 20 minutes we need a mental break. And what I'm saying today is I'm adding this 8 minutes. We need to be involving our participants every 8 minutes, otherwise either their brain is clicking out to something else, or indeed they're thinking about going to those screen devices which give them that risk and reward. Pushing information. They draw you in, don't they? You hear a beep, or even feel a buzz. And from that perspective, you know, oh, it could be an email, it could be a text message, it could be another level that I can beat. And that's what we're competing out there, folks. And who's involved with online learning here? Yeah, so about a quarter to a third of the group. When we're talking online learning, we halve these statistics. So for every 45 minutes of online learning, got to give them a physical break. Even the stretch break that we could lead here that the guys have been doing from WorkSafe is a great way to get them physically breaking. Every 10 minutes a mental break, and we need to involve them every 4 minutes. You know the behaviour on a webinar yourself. If it's not interesting, you're checking email, you're on Facebook, you're doing Twitter. Everything but engaging with the content. So that's our first model to think about. How do we build in this 90-28 or 45-10-4, depending on the mode that you're involved with? So from my perspective, we want them to bite in. We want them to eat our content. And the second model I'm working with is eat, and I need 3 volunteers this time to help me to explain this particular one. Remember that volunteering is always good. There's going to be a gift. So we've got 2 here straight away, and 1 more. The 2 ladies here. And 1 more. Over here. What's behind you? So come on down. Big round of applause for what's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. And?
Jenny.
Jenny.
Michelle.
And Michelle. On each of these seats there you'll find a paper plane. Could you grab one that sort of turns you on at this stage? We're going to do a quick demonstration here, folks. Each one of these paper planes is generally designed in the same way. but I've done something different to each of them, okay? But we'll talk about that at the very end. So we'll start off with and we won't do it to the audience because of health and safety. We'll go to the side that way. So we can turn around that way, and just see if you can pilot your plane and see what happens. Yep. Okay. Now what happened to yours?
It came back at me.
It came back?
Yep.
Yeah, so some dipped like this, some went straight up, and one went into a spiral. Let's give it up to our volunteers. Well done. I've got a gift for you. This time you get the trainer's toolkit.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Congratulations. This is your Man of January right here. Men of Training, Marc Ratcliffe. Just of January. And there are 52 ways to engage and enliven an audience there. So extra gifts for our volunteers. Now, what I want to say about these ones very quickly is that who's involved with aviation here? Any avionic people? Awesome. So I'll probably get this wrong, but just bear with me, generally speaking. So what I've done here is that I've altered the back of each of these planes with the ailerons, which is a French word for tiny or small wing. And when you put the flaps down, we create lift. When you put them up, they create drag. And when you put one each way, it sort of creates a rolling effect, which is what we sort of saw here today. So when it comes to this EAT, you're thinking, what's this paper plane thing got to do with EAT? Well, here's the thing, team. The E of EAT stands for experience. And you'll find on your second page, there's some fill in the blanks so you can write this on the handout. Okay, so 1928 was the first one. This one is EAT, experience. So we've given our people an experience. This now builds awareness. Now they're aware of what happens when those little flaps at the back do something and when they're changed. And then we can back it up with the theory. Now if I started with this saying, folks, I'm going to talk to you about flight theory. And the very important things you need about flight theory are we're talking lift, we're talking drag, and we're talking roll. It doesn't mean anything to you. But if I centre it with an experience first, now you're thinking, oh, that happened to me. I've now experienced what that means. And then if we had more time, we could have got them to play with those ailerons and see what happened next when they went to pilot it a second or a third time. We leave the theory to the end. Now, in 80% of situations, this is going to be appropriate. Of course, where safety is an issue, we might want to give them a little bit of induction first. But in a controlled setting like this EAT is another model for us to promote engagement. Okay, giving them an experience, this builds awareness, and then we back it up with the theory. That's what makes it meaningful in the end. At the top of our page, we've got CIO. CIO. So we're not talking about Chief Information Officer, but this is a way to help us to think about how we can get this involvement to happen. The C of CIO relates to control. So at the very beginning, I gave you some control over the information you share with the people around you. When you walked in today, you had a chance to choose your seats. I didn't assign seats. It wasn't my place. But you think of your own experience in the classroom. Some people will assign seats. The more choices you give, the more control they feel that they have. That then makes them feel included. The more included they feel, the more open they're going to be to the learning that comes next. In a former life, we used to work with long-term unemployed people, helping them to start their own businesses. And many of them felt disenfranchised because they'd been through the system a long time. And they felt like, well, I'm being told to be here, and if I don't turn up to the training, they're going to garnish my wages. Not my wages, my benefit. And they're telling me when I had to be places, how long I had to be there, I had to put they weren't feeling so hot about that. So then we said, well, what choices can you make? So why do you want to be involved with this? What time do we want to start? Where do we want to meet for the mentoring sessions? All of these situations then became choices which gave them control. Now they felt like I was a partner in their learning, and as a result was able to get them to success down the track. So EAT and CIO are two more models to add to our list. The next one here is CPR. And no, I'm not going to start talking first aid, but I am trying to bring some life force back into your training and assessment. So this refers to how we structure the learning. So CPR stands for content, participation, revisit. So for every piece of content that we cover, that we're planning to cover, we'll want to think about how we're going to involve them. Remember we said involvement was critical to engagement. So how will they participate in that content, and then how will they revisit? So the difference between a review and a revisit is who's doing it. If I'm doing it, it's a review. These were the key points from today. If it's a revisit, it's an activity that gets them thinking about it one last time before they leave. That checking for understanding, that promotion of reinforcement happens there. So it's a really simple three-step process for every piece of content. Let's think about how we'll involve them through their participation, and then how do we reinforce it and back it up with a revisiting activity. Let's face it, in many cases, training just ends. Oh, it's 4 o'clock, it's time to go. As opposed to giving them one last chance to revisit the key content themselves, to make them, give them that opportunity to transfer it back to their own situations. Does that kind of make some sense, team? Yep. 5 to go, thanks for that. On track. So the next two are going to pop up here on the same slide. So we've got N2K, N2K, W to go, stands for, who thinks they can work this one out? If I said the first one was need to know, what would the next one be? Nice to know, need to know, nice to know, and where to go. I've added this one, it's a bonus sixth model if you like, but it's on the Sudoku, so that's why I've given this one to you. So need to know, nice to know, where to go. This again helps us to structure the experience. There are some participants just say, just give me what I need to have. You know, they're watching it for me now. But then there's those other students who need the extra information, the extension stuff, to make them feel good about why they're doing it. And then the where to go. What happens next? What websites can they go to? What publications can they subscribe to, etc., etc. This will help to honour all of those participants in the room and engage them for what they really want. Whether they want the short, abridged version or they want the extra reference material, you can give both to each of the participants. And the final part here is about core, like the Apple core. See what I've done there? Image with the core. And core stands for closers, openers, revisitors, and energizers. Now this isn't rocket science, folks. We've all been practitioners for a long time. But what happens is we sometimes forget about the client experience or the student experience. Let's not take away the importance of reinforcement through things like a good quality closer, or an opener that gets them ready and motivated for what's about to happen next, or a revisitor, as I've described, that gives them a chance to go through the material one last time, or an energizer, much like we've done here over the last 2 days, to get us up, get us moving, and get us back motivated to what's happening next. So they're the 5 models I've shared with you. At the bottom of your sheet too, you'll see the 6 tips. So you only had 25 minutes. So those 6 tips are there. However, I do want you to have a chat with the people around you and think about some of those tips. And what I've tried to do on that handout is to show which tip relates to which model. So you can kind of see the relationship between the model of learning engagement and a tip to kind of facilitate that. And just with the people around your team, I want you to think about some of your action items from what we've just done. From what we've covered is going to work for you that you think you might want to put into practice. Again, we've got about 60 seconds. So just with the people around you, what are some of your action items? What are you going to put into practice as a result of what I've been talking about? Go to it, team. So hopefully, folks, we shouldn't say hope, that's what, definitely, folks, there's going to be some things, the things that you can put into practice there. If you want to learn more about these, of course, I've got the breakout session from 2:30 to 3:30, where we're looking about recipes for learning engagement success. I did promise you, one of the 4 promises today was to ensure that there was a gift for each of you. Some of you have got the hard copy of these, are our volunteers before, but if you want an e-copy of this for the next 28 days, this is going to be available on my website absolutely free. So you can download the e-book, get the whole book for yourself, click on the free stuff tab on my website and then select ebooks. It's at the top of the ebooks list. And as I said, I'm taking that off that site at the end of this month. So it's just really for this conference, so you can access that as my special gift just for you. So thanks so much for being part of it, folks. I know this has been a full-on conference so far, but hopefully I've had a chance for you to see an alternative view maybe, and a chance for you to re-energise those training environments that you've been involved in. The final thing, the final challenge I'll give you is that if you are into Sudoku and you'd like to finish this out, I do have a final gift for somebody who does it first and finds me. And this is a book called Score, which is for super closers, openers, revisitors and energisers. So if you like the idea of Core before, this is actually a really important one because it's got a signature from each of the 10 contributors to it. There's only 120 of these in the world that have been signed in this particular way. So not only is it a super book, it gives you a chance to have something you can put on eBay and make some money from at a later point. So find me sometime between now and the end of the day, and if the first person gets it, if I don't find somebody, or somebody doesn't find me by the end of the day, I will give it out at the end of my final session today. So it will be given away to someone in this room at some point today. Thanks so much, folks. You have been awesome.
Thanks very much, Mark. That was